Hey everyone, welcome to another entry to my diary of a business owner where I'm documenting what's going on with the business that I recently bought back in January at the beginning of this year. There's a carpet and steam cleaning business in Houston. So I use this as an opportunity to talk about what's going on there, what might be going on in the future, things I'm working on, as well as talking about business more generally and investing into businesses and the various issues that might come up along the way. So if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future updates. And I'd appreciate it if you left a comment with maybe questions for future episodes, or if you got something out of it, appreciate that as well. The whole point here is just to get a discussion going, and also for myself, selfishly, to kind of document the process and sort of flesh out ideas at the same time. So we're a few months in now. We're well past 2 months, 2.5 months in since I closed on this business. And so far, it's been definitely positive. It's been a good experience. I've learned a good bit along the way already. And it's just been a nice challenge to have, trying to run this business, trying to build out a team, trying to grow the business. And it's just something that I can always be working on every single day. And it's in a good way. It's not I don't dread working in this business because it is a fun challenge. And ideally, it's a rewarding challenge as well if all goes well. So lately, I've been focusing a lot more on sales. I kind of talked about that last episode some weeks ago. I guess to bring us up to speed from there, a good bit has happened since then. First off, I went on a trip abroad for about a week. So I was completely away from the business. Well, not completely. I was still keeping in touch with my manager the whole time, but there wasn't a whole lot I could do day to day because I was on a wildly different time zone. I was all the way in Dubai for a wedding, which was really awesome. I got to meet Karan Gurnani, fellow YouTuber and fellow punch card investing creator. So that was a really cool experience, but it took me away from the business in a pretty big capacity, yet it didn't fall apart. So the lesson there, I suppose, is that the systems aren't completely broken, and that I was able to step away for the most part for many days at a time because the team is competent. The team can handle things, which is really great. And it was a good feeling just coming back. I didn't expect things to fall apart, of course, but it's just still nice either way. And I think it's worth noting that it means that our systems are not completely broken. And of course, there's always room to improve, but I think you get the point. So that happened. And now that I'm back, been back for a few weeks now, I'm trying to focus again, getting back into the sales swing of things. So I'm focusing a lot right now on trying to build out a sales team. I have job listings out for sales representatives. I have like a summer sales representative job, as well as we'll call it normal sales representative. So a full-time, not just a temporary position. And maybe who knows if the summer thing turns into a permanent thing after the summer. It'll all depend on the person. Point is, I'm trying to find a team that can help me just with sales. Because I've been doing a lot of the sales myself beyond ads. Ads do the heavy lifting for us. So that's where most of our new customers and even existing customers are coming from. They're coming from ads. And those have been plenty profitable historically as well. I actually just spoke with the agency that manages all of our ads and our website and wanted to kind of go over the metrics to see where we're at. We ran a little special in February just to try and drum up some business in an otherwise slow time. February is not a big time for carpet and steam cleaning, but March, April, May typically is spring cleaning, and we're seeing that ramp up right now, which is great. But anyways, we ran a special, so wanted to see if there were higher conversions from there. But our general number that we pay per conversion ends up being around $25 per closed lead, just about. It's probably a bit higher than that. We'll just call it $25 to $30 per conversion. And that's across all of our ad forms. Right now we do Google and Facebook. And Facebook is more focused on the retargeting aspect. So people who might come to the site from a Google ad, and if they go onto Facebook, that retargeting ad on Facebook can then start hitting them there, we'll say. And I think that's probably going to be the general balance going forward. But things always change at some point. So we're down to about $25 per conversion, which is great considering that our average ticket is somewhere around $250. And that's between both residential and commercial jobs. Most of our jobs are residential. So let's just take that at face value. let's say $250 per job, even $200 per job if you want to be more conservative. Cut that in half for labor expenses and maybe some variable costs like gas and tolls and that stuff. Maybe you're left with $100. Then you got fixed costs, which will be some portion of that, but at least out of your variable costs, you got about half left over, we'll say, or gross margins are pretty close to that. Then that would mean that if you had $100, the $25 to acquire that customer, that's well below that. So it's a profitable ad right from the get-go, which is really good. So I want to keep that number in mind moving forward, just trying to make sure that our cost per conversion doesn't skyrocket for some reason. If we try some new ad sets, it's kind of a good benchmark to have. Just always paying attention to those ads. Not that they all have to be wildly profitable, but I would prefer they remain somewhat profitable, because that means you could just keep running them you could run them forever technically, as long as you could fulfill the orders. So we'll keep that up, and that's been definitely the backbone of most of our demand has been paid ads, and that probably will be for the foreseeable future. And I don't want to say forever, because ideally you just get to the point where referrals make up most of your business, and it's all and repeat customers, of course. But paid ads are going to be the primary driver for growth. Now, as for secondary drivers, that's what I'm trying to work on right now, and that's actually getting out there and selling to people directly, in person or over the phone. Over the phone has been restricted mainly to previous clients, previous customers with us. So I want to ramp that up too. I've made some calls to this point, and my manager has made quite a few calls as well to former customers. And we'd like to do more of that, but it's just like we have to prioritize what we're focusing on, because we're all wearing a bunch of hats right now because it's a small team. We got 2 technicians, myself, and then the manager. So 3 people. We have a part-time contractor as well. So it's a small team. So we have to do a lot of things if we're really trying to grow until we can build out that team. So I'm trying to build out the leverage of this business by bringing on more people who can do more things. So right now, I think it would make a lot of sense to bring in more salespeople, because that could kind of take that off of my plate, off of the manager's plate, at least somewhat. And our job then would be managing the team, which is something that's a lot easier to focus on when you're not being stretched kind of too thin, trying to do everything in the business at once. So it's just kind of building out the leverage, one little, we'll call it department at a time. And sales seems like the current one to focus on right now. So my goal really by the end of this summer is to try and get up to, I think 3 salespeople would be a really good spot to be in. My thinking with that is that, assuming they'd be paid on commission, try to get some motivated folks. We'll see if there's any significant attrition. But if I can get up to 3 people at any given time on the sales team, at least at our current fulfillment level, that would be bringing in at least a few new jobs per day on top of what we're already doing. And that would be enough to totally fill out the schedule with our current resources and with our current technician team. So I think that would put us in a really great position, really fill up our capacity that we already have, and also grow the business in a pretty significant way too. Would probably close to double our current sales if we could do something like that. Maybe even much more than doubling sales, depending on the size of these tickets that a sales team would be bringing in. Because I'd want them to focus on businesses as well, commercial clients, not just residential ones, which might be a smaller ticket, but it might be an easier sale. So, it's a trade-off. And just having some folks dedicated to that, working those customer relations, and just doing that, I think would go a long way towards helping the business. And I know that's what it's going to need long-term anyways. So one thing I'm kind of trying to focus on, just as a tangent to that, is if I think the business is going to want or need to have this long-term, I should find a way to try and get it to that point now. And that's kind of the reason I brought on the general manager first, because I knew it was going to need a general manager at some point, or just someone to be kind of head of operations. That wasn't just me, because it was me off the bat, because it was 2 technicians and me. That's what we're starting with. So I thought that it would make more sense, since I know the business is going to want something like this in the future, or I'm going to want to have this. So let's just get it in now and try to figure it out from there. And then that ideally could be a catalyst for more growth and building out the team and getting the culture from the top set to where it's easier to build out the lower levels of whatever, or I should say really the more specialized levels, because it's not like any one particular role is not important, because they all are. It's just they all just play a different role. And the person who's head of operations will tend to be more of a generalist, whereas someone who's just a salesperson is specialized in sales. So you kind of see that as you go down any hierarchy. You'll see more specialization. So people can just focus on whatever they're good at. And by focusing, they'll become better at it anyways. So that's one of the reasons I did that. And kind of along the same lines, I'm thinking that, okay, eventually, if this business were 5 times the size, I would expect to have some sort of sales department. So if I want to get this business to 5 times the size it currently is, I should start building out a sales department now so it can grow with the business and help the business to grow. I'm just kind of foregoing those. I'm foregoing today's profits to go for growth, and that's the decision any business has to make. You could line your pockets now, or you can instead reinvest for growth. And by not taking dividends right now, I'm trying to reinvest it into the team and trying to bring on new people to try and grow this thing that way. So during building out the leverage, again, I keep saying that because employees, talent is leverage, and systems are leverage as well. We have pretty good systems right now. It's plugging people into those systems to build out the leverage that way, because there's only so much any one person can do. And if you can have a whole team, it'll be in a much more powerful position and be able to satisfy quite a few more customers, which is good for everyone. So that's what I'm working on right now, building out that sales team. And while I'm doing that, I've been doing some more sales myself. I did kind of mention phone sales a little while ago, but I also, now that the weather is just great in Houston right now, it's like consistently like 80 degrees every day, and it's awesome. So great time of year. And we're trying to, I've decided to go ahead and do some door-to-door sales for a few days, or really a couple of days. And I knocked on about 100 doors, and I just wanted to get a feel for things, see if particular pitches might work well enough. Wanted to get kind of a general conversion rate, just like sort of a base level of familiarity with how it might go. I've done some door-to-door, I don't want to call them sales, but I did do a couple of political campaigns when I was in high school or around that time. And we had to go door to door. So I'm not that intimidated by it, but it is a little bit anxiety inducing. But anyways, I wanted to try that and see how it went. And it went pretty well. I closed one job at least. I'm very close to closing a second one. We'll see what happens. But so if, I knocked on around 100 doors and I get 2 closings, that's about a 2% close rate, which is what I was kind of expecting, 1 to 2%. So if it's anywhere around there, I guess that's a decent sign, because it means that I'm not doing anything wildly wrong, at least unless I'm just getting lucky, because it is a pretty small sample. But just trying to work on that skill as well, and just kind of put our brand out there as well. We'll see if anyone closes many months down the line. If maybe they weren't ready now, but they do need something in the future, gave them a flyer. They might remember me. Maybe they don't. But if they do, it's another chance at a sale. So getting some salespeople to do that as well, door to door, picking up the phone, cold calling, whatever it is, just getting more brand reach out there and more chances to serve new customers. That would be great. So that's what I'm trying to work on right now. And kind of, you could say in my free time, what little is left, a lot of it is going towards that, focusing on sales and building out the sales team. One thing I do want to just kind of pump the brakes on, though, I could be if I really wanted to, I could just door knock all day, or during appropriate hours for door knocking. Let's say if I could focus 3 hours a day on, let's just say my budget for the business is 3 hours a day. Some days it's more, some days it's less. But let's just, for this example, my budget is 3 hours a day. Where am I best served or where are my hours best served? Should I just be doing the selling? Should I be out there knocking on doors for 3 hours? Should I be out there recruiting for 3 hours? Should I be doing something else? Should I do a mix? So that's the balance I'm always working with, and that's going to be changing all the time based on what the business needs. This last week we had a few hiccups with actual fulfillment and working the schedule. So I had to spend more time than I would have liked on that. So did the manager. So that was annoying, but that's the nature of the game. You're going to run into problems that you weren't expecting or weren't planning for, and you got to solve those. So you have to have like some flexibility, of course, but how do you want to budget it in a ideal scenario? And I'm trying to remind myself, okay, I could be doing everything myself. I could go out there and clean carpets if I wanted to. It's not that complicated. It's hard work, but I could do it if I wanted to, and that would be helping the business technically. But but it seems like it would make a lot more sense for me to focus on building out a team to then do all the fulfillment and to do all the sales. Since I'm in that position right now as owner of the business, I'm the one who dictates what happens with the team, who gets hired, who gets fired. I can control that. You control a lot of things. It's a big responsibility being a business owner. Once you have multiple employees, especially, not a responsibility I've had to this point. I've never had direct employees under me, so it's definitely it changes the equation a bit. So I think it makes a lot more sense for me to focus on building out that team that can do those things. That, sure, I could do them myself, but I can only do so many of them because I have limited time. That's the 3-hour budget or whatever it is in a given day. I only have so many hours. And even if I am a great salesman, how much leverage do I really have if I'm just doing all the sales myself compared to hiring a team of 3 or 4 or 5 salespeople to do all those sales for me, even if they're all worse salesmen than me? I'm not saying they would be, but I think you get the example. Just because you could do something doesn't mean you should. And even if you're pretty good at something, doesn't mean that that's the highest leveraged, best thing you could be doing. And that's what I'm wrestling with. I keep trying to recalibrate my focus towards building the team. That's my first job right now. It is building the team. All the other things that come with the day-to-day in the business, that's all important too. And I'll do it if I need to, or if it makes sense to in the moment. But I'm trying to just really make sure I'm focusing on team first. So as much as I'd love to hop on the email box and take a look at maybe customer inquiries or whatever it is, even if it's at like a late night hour or something like that, before I do that, I should first focus on, hey, did we get any job applications? Review these job applications, message all of our applicants. I should be doing that first before I do other things in the business. Everything's important at this stage. Everything I do will have some sort of impact because we're small enough to where just kind of flapping your arms around, we'll do something. Putting any sort of effort in, we'll do something. But again, the key is optimizing. What is the best thing to do? So team building that team out seems to be the number one highest leverage sort of task to do. So that's kind of where I'm at with the sales side of things. Otherwise, things have largely stabilized. We're seeing a ramp up with the spring cleaning season. We're seeing a lot more people come in to get all their carpets, tiles, furniture, whatever they need cleaned. And so that's been good. And I would expect this next month or two to be pretty strong, even if we don't do a ton of extra effort, just because it's that time of year. But at the same time, if we're able to make that extra effort and get a few extra new customers who then get into the pipeline and maybe they come around next year as well, that's the ideal. You want to take advantage of these great times of the year so that when it comes around next year, it's that much easier, or you're at that much stronger footing to grow from there. So definitely want to do it right. And I don't want to, just rest on our laurels or I don't even know if that's the correct term for it, but not to get arrogant about, okay, it's this time of year, we can kind of ease off the gas. Don't want to overwhelm ourselves, of course. Got to make sure we can still fulfill everything we can, but we have been, even with some hiccups here and there. It's a matter of smoothing out those hiccups, but still focusing on the task at hand of just bringing more people in the door. That's priority number one for the business in general. My priority to get to that point is to build out the team and manage the team from there. And that's largely the manager's role as well, just more directly with our team. He is managing the schedule a lot more closely than I am, and he deals with customers more often. We might be pretty even on how often we're dealing with customers, because we're both making calls to new customers ourselves, just to double the effort while we try to get sales up. But there's lots of things to do every day, so it kind of changes from day to day for the most part. So that's pretty much where we're at with the business. Things, like I said, are going well, and I'm definitely excited to see where this goes in the next few months, because things could look quite different. If I hired 3 more salespeople, that's doubling the team size, which is kind of weird because we know we'd be going from 3 to 6, be the biggest that the business has ever been by headcount at least. And I would assume if we really did bring on 3 salespeople and they're doing all right, the next step would probably be to get another technician, either a junior technician or someone with their own truck, even if it's going real well. Um, and then you build out your capacity again. And it's always a kind of a seesaw battle between demand and capacity. If you have a bunch of excess capacity, then it's a matter of filling the demand, getting the demand to fill it. If you have too much demand, which is a nice problem to have, your new problem is that you have not enough capacity. So it's building that out. So it's just kind of the seesaw battle. It's never ending if you're especially if you're in a growth mode, which we are. So right now we have excess capacity. So it makes sense to focus on demand until we hit that breaking point where we no longer have excess capacity to use. And we got to grow from there and build out the systems, build out the team more, get more capital like vans and equipment, and all that good stuff. So right now it's definitely focusing on demand, and there are plenty of ways to do that. So that's kind of where we're at now. Not sure I have much else to say. I'm not seeing questions in the chat. So if you do have questions for a future episode, be sure to leave them in the comments. Wherever you're viewing this from, I try to post it on all the platforms. That's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch as well, and Twitter. And all of them have their own sort of live stream nuances. But YouTube is always a great place since you can leave comments there, and I can always make them in the long form videos as well, not just these live stream or this sort of long form podcast version. But if you want like a more refined video, that could be a great place to put it. Leave a comment there, and maybe it's worth doing a full video on. Or it could always serve as a question in the future for this series. And then if you happen to make it live, I don't have a set time that I do these. You can always post in the chat as well, and then you can get my immediate answer on the stream. So with that said, thanks for tuning in to, this is the 4th episode of the Diary of a Business Owner, the 4th entry, because this is a diary after all, not a show, it's a diary. So it's an entry, not an episode. So thank you for tuning into the 4th entry. And if you are interested at all in seeing more of these episodes or just following this business journey for whatever you think it's worth, then definitely subscribe so you don't miss future updates. But until next time, everyone, thank you.